Welcome you all to this session. I am Sharmila, Assistant Professor from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Saidamal Engineering College. Now let us see about the concept of visual pages in human-computer interaction. There are 6 principles for designing web page interface, and this concept visual page comes under principle 3, which is staying on page. Under this principle, already we have seen 2 topics, overlays and inlays. Overlays allows you to bring additional interactions or extra content in a layer above the current page. You can see here in the sample picture where the overlay is shown as a lightweight pop-up over the current page, whereas in inlays you can do the same thing within the page itself. That also can be seen in this sample picture where this inlay is shown around a particular field in this form, that is the first name, which gives the extra details about that particular field the user has to fill. Another particular approach under this third principle is the visual page, which keeps the users engaged on the current page by creating an illusion of a larger visual page. There are patterns that support the visual pages like visual scrolling, inline paging, scrolled paging, panning, and zoomable user interface. Let us see all the concepts one by one. The first pattern is visual scrolling. Traditionally, in most of the website implementation, pagination concept was used as a key to get to the additional content. The classic example of this is a Google search, which will display about 10 results per page, and user can move through the content using the Google pagination control. You can see here the picture shows the Google pagination control we are all familiar with. The visual scrolling concept helps to remove the artificial page boundaries that are created by paginating the data. In Yahoo Mail website design, the email messages are displayed as a scrolled list, and that too loads the additional messages on demand as the user scrolls. So this normal approach that involves a scrolled list can be seen in the desktop mail clients like Opera Mail, Pegasus Mail, Windows Live Mail, Mozilla Thunderbird, etc. And Yahoo Mail implements that desktop version of the scrolled list into its website version. You can see this in these 3 pictures, and this is the list of messages that is displayed as a scroll list. And here in the second picture you can see that on demand the messages are being loaded, and the message lines are being now replaced with the text loading, which indicates that the messages are under loading status. And the visual scrolling is literally a scroll bar turned into a pagination control. It too has the drawbacks. Like in Yahoo Mail, you can see slow loading process, and the scroll bar doesn't give any indication of where the users are currently located. Microsoft website also applies this visual scrolling for its image search process, and here instead of all the content being visually loaded, the scroll bar just shows what contents has been actually loaded. So it is of the type like progressive loading that is used when the data size is large or when the size is unknown. You can see this in these three pictures. The first picture shows the web page of Microsoft Live Search. Here the images nearly 12,500,000 images are being visually loaded in this website. And here the scroll bar, the size of the scroll bar indicates the amount of the content that is being loaded. The second picture shows that when the scroll is done in an area where the contents are not yet loaded, the images are shown in a gray boxes, which indicates that the images are not yet loaded, but after progressive loading the images will replace these gray boxes. And in the third picture you can show that the page is fully loaded with pictures, and also you can see that scroll bar here, it is updated to a new location relative to the size of the images loaded when comparing to the previous search. And also in the top of the website the current loading status is mentioned, like the 40 to 79 pictures out of 12,500,000 pictures are being loaded. Like that you can get the message. The visual scrolling concept is also used in Pick Lens, which is a Firefox add-on that provides an endless wall of photos that the user can be scrolled through in. The scroller at the bottom continues to expand with more content. You can see the scroller here, and the scroller dynamically adapts according to the user orientation in the data, and it shows how many images are shown. And this Pick Lens used to view the images from Google Search, Flickr and other resources also. The second pattern is an inline paging concept. By only switching the content in and leaving the rest of the page stable, we can create an inline paging experience. That is, a portion of the page remains stable, whereas a portion of the page which is intended for searching process will keep on changing according to the user search. So it creates an inline experience. That is, Amazon's endless.com website uses this inline paging and creates a seamless experience moving through the search results. You can show here in the first picture, moving through the visual pages is provided by the pagination concept here. When you click the page 3, go to page 3, then what happens means the contents of the page 3 will get automatically refreshed in this search area alone, and it leaves the rest of the page without altered. That is, it remains stable. And also there are some issues to consider with this inline paging concept, like so with this it feels like the user never leaves the page, because every time the visual pages of the results are being brought into view, the user feels like staying in the same page. And the Herald Tribune magazine, International Herald Tribune magazine, its website supports this visual paging concept using inline paging, where the newspaper stories are being chunked in a portion of the page. So if the user has to read the next page, just has to click the next page button, which automatically loads the next page content in this portion of the reading area alone, and it leaves the remaining area of the page stable. So just it mimics the real world concept, In real world, we will go through the magazine by flipping the pages, but here we can, by using the next button, we can go through the next pages of the newspaper in the form of visual pages. But the only problem or the biggest issues with the inline paging is whether the back button actually works correctly or not. The Amazon Endless has criticism regarding this back button, because after moving through the visual pages, if we hit the back button, it moves to the page which is intended for the previous search, but it will not move to the page that is happening in the visual pages. That is, for example, if I opened a Google website and from there I open the Amazon Endless, then after moving through the visual pages in Amazon Endless, searching through many pages, if I finally hit a back button intending to move back through to the previous search in the Amazon Endless itself, but what happens means it will take us to the previous search, that is, it moves directly to the Google page itself. So this problem can be fixed by handling this back button in such a way to move through the visual pages also. So this is being done in Gmail pages. Gmail handles their back button in such a way that clicking the back will take us through the visual pages itself. The third pattern is scrolled paging, which means the scrolling and paging combine together to form a scrolled paging, and the carousel pattern uses this approach. What is a carousel? Carousel is like a merry-go-round or a conveyor belt carrying the luggages for the passengers arriving in the airport, like that. Technically speaking, we can see this as circular linked list. So the carousel provides a way to page in more data by scrolling it into view, and Yahoo Underground uses this carousel concept to provide a way to page or scroll through the articles in that website. And it also provides the timeline and animation. You can see here in this first picture, the timeline shows the previous articles, right now articles, and up next articles. And in the next picture, you can see the animated version, that is scrolling through the right end of the carousel. You can see that the right end of the article is cut off a little, and the left end of the carousel shows that the left picture is slightly popped in. So the timeline and animation is used in the carousel version of this website. Time-based carousels work well for a small set of time-based content, and it is also well suited for featured or recent content like photo collections, which is used in Flickr website to navigate back and forth through the photos, and Flickr allows the user to get the photos in a chronological order, that is, the user can find the photos without leaving the current page. So it is like in a smartphones, after capturing the photos in through the camera, the photos will be stored according to the date and time. So the time-based content can be easily displayed in the form of a carousel. And the fourth pattern is the visual panning. So panning means moving. So visual panning means visually moving. A great place for the visual panning is on a map. So one way is to create a visual canvas that allows the user to freely roam in a two-dimensional space. Google Maps creates a virtual canvas and allows a user to pan in any direction just by clicking the mouse down and dragging the map around. In the first picture, just by clicking and holding the mouse, the cursor turns into a hand cursor, and it shows that the drag is being initiated. In the second picture, you can see that dragging actually happens. The canvas moves around as the mouse is being dragged, and we can drag the map around in a real time. So besides map applications, this visual panning is also used in devices like iPhone, where users simply they can flick through the weather locations, photos, or an iTunes playlist. Here, there is a similarity between a flicking and panning. What is flicking means? That is applying some force or thrust by pushing. That is using a finger, we are pushing the items by touching the touch screen. So that is flicking, and though it is having some similarity with panning, there is also differences, like with visual panning, the canvas only moves while the mouse is dragging around it, but with flicking, if the user starts the drag operations and release, even after release, the canvas will continue to move with some momentum. Like in real world situation, if a train puts a brake at the stop station, it will go a little forward and then it stops. Similarly, in flicking operations in the iPhones, the canvas slows in such a way and then it stops. So that is the only difference between the flicking and panning. The fifth pattern is zoomable user interface, and it is another way to create a visual canvas, and it extends the concept of page, allows the user to stay in page, and it works with a large set of informations and have a lot of details. It also allows the user to zoom into the elements of the page and to roam in both 2D as well as 3D concepts. Hard Rock Cafe is a website that recently converts or digitized all of its large collection of rock and roll memorabilia collections, and this application uses zoomable user interface to move around from artifact to artifact and zoom in the details on each items. Let us see in an example. Here in the first picture, the zoomed out mode, all the items are seen in a thumbnail version. After zooming in the item, we can see the details, and further zooming in, getting closer and closer, we can see more details stitched in around the item. And also some potential zoomable user interactions are being used in Firefox mobile concept prototype. Here you can see in the first picture shows the, in a zoomed out mode, it shows the canvas and the windows. In the second picture, by clicking this plus sign, you can add a tab or the window, and you can see it automatically zooms and shows that the tab is created at the bottom left corner of the canvas. And in the third picture, you can see that the tab is automatically zoomed, and the fourth picture, the tab fully occupies the entire canvas. And here this prototype, it uses this ZUI in two key ways, based on two key ideas. That is, the first idea is the zoomable user interface allows to switch over between the canvas or the desktop and the windows And the second idea is that the additional tools will be kept either to the left or right or top or bottom of the canvas or the desktop, and by pulling this content to one side or the other, it reveals the additional tools. We can easily use that. So, this is the concept of zoomable user interface, and that is all. We are at the end, and we have seen about visual pages and all about its patterns like visual scrolling, then panning, zoomable user interface, scrolled paging, inline paging, and that's all. Thank you.